Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Laura De Stefano. I'm Italian and I'm a numerologist. And this is my first live on Bridges of Light International. So I'll be speaking in English and I'll be talking about numbers. I'll be waiting a few moments so that we get some connections. And I'll be introducing myself first. As I said, I'm a numerologist. Actually, I'm doing much more than this because I'm in love with quantum physics. And I'm in love with quantum physics because it gives a new vision of everything. Quantum physics was quite revolutionary because it spreads into many other scientific fields like epigenetic, medicine, healing techniques, healing therapies, and it really gives us a new way of seeing anything. And it introduces us to a new consciousness, a new concept of life. Quantum physics has involved again the consciousness and our conscience into the field of the healing process. So medicine now cannot avoid considering a person with her soul and with her consciousness into any action that the person takes and undertakes in her life. So it's really something that I'm really in love with, and I'll be talking in some other meetings that I will be having, on some other lives I'll be having here on Bridges of Light about quantum physics and all the new vision that it offers to us. But first, we're speaking about numbers, because numbers are at the basis of everything. Besides numerology, I keep groups with a technique that is called the dance of the souls. It's not soul dancing, that in the English language is a special technique. It's the dance of the souls, and it derives from the vibrational therapies by Baba Bedi. Baba Bedi was an Indian master that introduced a new discipline into the holistic fields, starting from this sentence: what have you done today for your happiness? So he introduced some techniques so that we can get back in contact with our happiness, reaching our soul. And he used the arts as first mean of connection with another dimensions. We keep saying that it's common to say that all the artists are genius because they go somewhere else in other dimensions and they get in touch with new informations. Usually they get in touch with information that we don't have in this dimension, in this earth we're living in, and they bring here new visions from an upper level through the means of art that actually they're using in that time. Might be painting arts, might be sculpture, might be dance, might be music, poetry, literature, any means of artistic communication. So Baba Bedi first focused on the arts because they were a privileged mean to collect information, different information from other worlds, and he decided that these means could be used to get in touch with our soul, not just with other information. They were used to open up our body as an instrument where information can flow. And so, since I'm an ex-ballerina and ballet dancer, I, of course, love movement and I love ballet and dancing, of course. And so I specialized into the vibrational therapies of Baba Bedi, mostly in dancing. And so, with this new technique, the dance of the soul, we do get in touch with our dimension. We do get in touch with our guides, and we receive some messages from them, symbolic messages that have to be revealed to people at the end of all the meetings of the dance of the soul. And we keep some courses that actually are connected by one theme. So we might be working on fears, we might be working on anger and rage, and we might be working on self-esteem. It depends. There are several possibilities. And so this is a little bit of an introduction about what I do. Now, today, I want to focus on numbers. Why do I want to focus on numbers? Not just because I'm a numerologist, but because numbers are at the base of everything. Numbers actually constitute a universal language. Universal because they cannot be misunderstood. You know that it is common to say when you translate from one language to another, you actually betray one language towards the other. And that is partially true because in one language we do not have exactly the same concept and the same meanings that we can find in another language. I'll give you a very little example. In America, you have two words, cute and nice. Okay, one refers to the aspect, to the physical aspect of a person, and the other one to her manner, to her attitude, to her behavior. In Italian, for example, we have just one word for both of them. So two different meanings are included in one word. Of course, you understand where to position the meaning according to the relation and where the word is set in the sentence. But you have something, when you translate, you have a different difficulty in the translation. Okay, little different difficulties in this case. But of course, sometimes you do have difficulties that are definitely harder and stronger than this one. So, this does not occur with numbers. Why? Because no matter how you pronounce a number, no matter how you write a number, you always think of the same thing. The concept you refer to when you say, for example, one is very, very clear, is definite, is accurate. That doesn't happen with the words. So, numbers can be used as a symbol, universal symbol, that cannot be misunderstood. And numbers are very, very useful to define what in quantum physics is called the informational basic field. What does that mean? There is a reality beyond everything, a reality where there is the matrix of anything that exists, any part of our body, how a relationship should be, anything that exists. There is a sort of a matrix. There is a sort of a beginning, a mold of how things should be and should be done so that they would let us live in peace, in harmony, in well-being, in the best possible manner that we ever can experiment. Of course, we are not in that situation. And that means that there is a gap between the matrix field, the quantum informational basic field, and how we act in our reality. Okay? And that is a lack of information from the quantum informational field to us. Anything in the informational field is defined by a numerological sequence. Any numerological sequence defines precisely one single thing in the quantum basic informational field. So, that is also because we have to consider that anything we think, we actually send frequencies around us. A concept, anything we think, a concept comes out of our eye, our third eye here, spreads in the environment on waves. The smallest part of the world, of the creation of the material, is light. And light undergoes to light and sound. And it takes the shape of waves. And those waves can be positive or negative to us. You know that waves are measured in hertz, and hertz are measured considering the wideness of the peaks of a wave, so the height of a wave, and how many times those heights, those peaks, occur in 1 second. There are some waves that are very good to us. There are some waves that actually take energy away from us. And so those are not good waves. That depends on the frequencies, and that depends on the type of thoughts that we release in our environment. A good thought, a light thought, a high frequency thought is helpful for anybody. A low frequency thought, of course, takes energy out of the person is addressed to, but anyway, in the environment generally. So, many things depends on what we think. We do create reality around us depending on what we think, on the type of thoughts that we generate around us. So, numbers are very precise frequencies, very, very precise frequencies. And they are, so when we think of a number, we do release in the environment a very precise concept. And when we decided to come back here on this earth, so when we decided to incarnate again in this earth, we have decided exactly our birthday, and also we have decided our first and second name. We've been choosing very accurately where to land, from who, so who actually our parents were going to be, in what country, what language we were going to speak, and also our date of birth and our names. Why? Because our name is made of letters that can be switched into numbers. There is a correspondence, a very strict correspondence between letters and numbers. And of course, our date of birth is made of numbers. So we've been choosing some specific frequencies to deal with in our present life, in our actual life. And when we decided that, we committed to a purpose we were going to reach in this incarnation. And numerology, just with the 2 items of the date of birth and name, first and second name, can really tell you many, many things about your choice when you got here on the earth. One thing that numerology can easily tell you is what you wanted to achieve in this life, what you wanted to reach in this life, in this lifetime actually. And that is told by your birth date. When you sum up all the numbers of your birth date, you come up with just one number. Please don't try to make the sum at home, because there are some numbers that when they show up, they must not be sum added up. But the technique to actually know what you focus, what you wanted to achieve and reach in this lifetime is actually given by your date of birth. For example, if you get number 1 as the purpose of this lifetime, number 1 is the number of the warrior. And this is written in Italian. Anyway, the key word is independency. If you have this number, for example, what do you want to get in your lifetime? Number one, the warrior, means not just power, but braveness, courage, determination, being the first, being someone that wants to make new discoveries on this earth, someone that goes in front of the others, doesn't wait for the others to follow him. He wants to go first. He wants to open up new visions. What does it mean to have number one in your life purpose, for example? That you have to work on your ego, that you want to build your ego. You want to learn that you can stand by yourself, that you don't need the others to go forth in your evolution, that you can be sufficient for yourself. You're enough. You don't need the others' help. So maybe in your lifetime, you might be full. You might be having very little help around you. Many times, several times, this may occur to you because you have to achieve and realize that actually you can stand back and become the warrior, the person that fights for herself with no problems. And you also want to define your territory. This means, if this is your focus, that you become from lifetimes, past lifetimes, where you were very dependent from the others. You depended a lot on the others. You were not steady on deciding something just by yourself. You always had to ask for advice from the others, and you were never sure about what was right to do unless all the others would tell you, for example, the same opinion. This is one example, okay? We should see the whole numerological framework that really says many, many, many things about us. We're just focusing on one little item. What does it happen instead if you have number 2 as a focus of life? Here, the word for number 2 is child, the child. And the key word is sensitivity. So, if you focus on integrating that part, because actually the focus, what we want to achieve is an aspect we want to integrate in our personality. We live several times because we need time to integrate several attitudes, several behaviors, several frameworks, mental frameworks, several emotional and psychological aspects in order to become one, a whole, to become that energy of love, of unconditional love, we are all called to become at the end of the word evolution, and anyone is going to arrive there. No one will ever be left behind. So we need several incarnations to reincarnate more than once on this earth, but not just on this planet actually, to integrate all those aspects time by time. 2, the child sensitivity means that you have to learn collaboration and patience, and that you have to be in connection with the others. So maybe in your past lives, you were too much of a person that was really pushing herself forwards without considering the other needs. You were maybe in a very hurry all the time. You were not considering the others, and you were not very compelled into relationships. This time you have to be committed to collaboration and not to be a frontman like the warrior does, okay, but to be an assistant, a perfect assistant, and to be very diplomatic. That is what you have to learn, for example, this time. And what does it happen if you have number 3, for example? Number 3 is the jester. And the key word is self-expression. Number 3, if you think of also how numbers are actually graphically introduced to us. Number one is very, very stiff, okay? Because the warrior, of course, goes straight ahead. Number two has a curved part and then a steady part, okay? Because he needs to have a basis. He needs to have something solid to move from, because he's quite an insecure number. So he needs something to feel strong, to feel radicated on, to move forward. Number three is very open. It's like someone embracing others. And that is because number three is the liveliest, happiest, the most creative, the most communicative number of all. But he does want to be on the spotlight. That's why the key word is self-expression. He really wants people to see him, and he wants to be expressed. He wants his talents to be expressed. He is a very good communicator, and he is very lively. He's an optimistic number. It's a number that very lively, very always oriented to the positive thought. So, and always very social, embracing the other, very welcoming. It's a very welcoming number. So if I want to become this at the end of my life, what have I done before? Of course, as I said, this is a very general introduction, so you don't have to take these things very strict, okay? We should see, as I said, the numerological framework altogether. It means that probably I'm very doubtful, I'm very stiff, I'm very negative, I really want to stay with what I know. I'm not open-hearted and not open-minded to see other things, to meet other people. I want to stay with what I know because it makes me feel comfortable. I'm in a comfortable area with my rules, with my people, and I don't want to go forward. Instead, I need to open myself psychologically, mentally, emotionally, be social. I do not have to be scared of being seen, of using what I have blessed with by the heart, by the sky, which means my talents, my sources, and put them into something I can manifest them with on the earth. It's a number of manifestation. Okay? And what happens if I have number 4? As you see, number 4 is the builder. And the word, the key word is order and neatness. The builder. And if you see the picture, it seems like it's holding the whole world, which is true. Number 4 is a strong number, very strong number. And if you think how it is graphically represented, portrayed, it's the closest number. It's like this. Okay? A 4. Maybe sometimes like this. In Italy, we tend to write it like this. This is quite an issue. Numbers are graphically written the same ways everywhere with very little changes. In the case of number 4, all the Italians tend to write it like this. In all the other countries, not Latin countries actually, they write it all closed. It's the closest number, graphically speaking, because it's the one that needs the rules the most. It's a number of force, of strength, of strongness, of determination, of reliability. Number 4 is a very strong worker. It works a lot. Until it hasn't accomplished everything, it doesn't stop. But it's a number that hates changes. It wants to stay with what it's been always known to it. So it wants to stay very close to the rules. He loves to have the rules, always the same rules. He loves routine. It loves the routine. So I will stay with the same rules, and he really wants to adapt to the rules continuously because they give it self-esteem. They give to it confidence. It feels safe when there are rules giving to it the right direction. So what does it mean to have a 4, for example, as the focus, the achievement, the commitment, the final commitment of my life? That I have to understand the importance of the rules. So maybe I'm an anarchic spirit, very free, too free spirit. Maybe I've never adjusted to the rules. I hated the rules. I rejected the rules too much. This time I have to learn that rules are not prisons, but rules can be means of help to me to any achievement I want to do in my life, for example. And now I will introduce to you number 5. The seeker. The seeker. And the key word is freedom. Number 5 is just the opposite of number 4. Number 4 want to be sure of anything, want to have everything under control. Okay? Number 5 is the opposite. It has to be free all the time. He loves changes. It loves movements. It loves to be here and there. It loves to try anything. It might become a little flying too much among things and not being steady and accomplishing something towards the end. It's a number that likes to try, likes to taste. And when it tastes, he's fine with it and he's done with it. So he might drop the whole thing and go and do something else. But what happens if actually this number, that also is a very perceptive number, it has a very, very strong intuition, and it has a great connection with the gods, with the other dimension. It's a number of senses, okay? It lives reality by means of the senses. What does it mean to have it at the focus of my life? That I have to learn how to flow with all that may occur in my life. Instead of seeing anything as a mistake or an obstacle, anything that intercomes, even if unexpected, even if maybe a hard situation to undertake, I have to learn to go by, to flow with it, to stay with it, and that is not a problem, but a new opportunity. Maybe this can open me up to a new world, a new vision, to a new turn of my life. So maybe I come, if I have the number, from a personality that has been very study. A number 4 personality, excessive 4 personality. And instead, what does happen if I have number 6? Number 6 is the caregiver. And the key word is love. Actually, it's the caregiver angel. So, what does it mean to have the caregiver, the angel of love, as the focus of your actual incarnation on the earth? That you have to discover love, that you have to open up your heart again. So you are probably very close within yourself. You're not open-hearted. And anything that will happen into your life will be helping you to open up again your heart, because that's the only door things get through. So anything there is in the word for us, if we don't open up our heart, will be rejected. We need to open our heart to let things get through, to get to us. We need to receive all the gifts that there are around us. And only this way, opening up our heart, we can get back in touch with anything that has been prepared and left for us from the other dimensions. Probably if I have that purpose, number 6 in my actual life, I've been very, very close with myself, and I've been brokenhearted. I've been hurt in my previous lives. And so I defend myself from feelings, my own feelings. I defend myself from feeling love. And I need to reintegrate that part, to open back up to life and love. What if I have number 7 and my purpose of life? Number 7 is the wise man, and the key word is meditation. Who is the wise man? In our imagination, a wise man is someone that somehow is set very high on a mountain, on a star, on a planet, because from there he can have a very wide and complete vision of what's going on. And when do we refer to a wise man? When do we go to question a wise man? When we have a problem, when we want to have a solution we don't find in our reality. And why do we go to him to get the answer? Because he's in such a position that he can see the variety and the complexity of the problem. And so he has the correct vision with all the links of the elements composing our reality and our problem to give us the answer. So the wise man actually is a part of ourself. And the key word is meditation, because it means to go within yourself. If you have a 7 as a purpose in your life, it means that you want to get back in touch with your wise part, your divine part, with the soul within you, with the God within you. So you need to do anything like any technique in the holistic field, introspection. You want to find yourself back. A wise man is someone that listens a lot to the others, but doesn't speak much. He doesn't give words out. He doesn't spread words easily. He just gives you the proper answer. Because he knows, he thinks, he feels, he goes into itself. This is what happens when you have number 7. You have to go back with your holy nature. You have to integrate your holy nature. What does it happen if you have number 8 as the focus of your life? The 8 is the ruler, and the key word is power. Look at how the 8 is shaped. Actually, it's like a circle that has been knotted up in the middle. That's because number 8 has to put together the brain and the heart. If the circle represented our body, the knot would be right here at the 3rd chakra level. The 3rd chakra level is the power, the self-esteem, where our courage, our determination reside. Number 8 is the ruler, so it's a number that deals a lot with anything that is concrete. He is really a number that has to see that things are actually really done, really realized into material, into things. They become concrete, they become real. And number 8 wants to put back the spirit into the world, into the materialistic world. When you have number 8 in your purpose of life, you have lived a lot of lives already. You have a lot of past lives, and because through meaning of the all the acquaintances and all the acknowledgments that you have collected in your past life, you can bring that spirit into anything that is materialistic in this world. So it's quite a commitment when you have the 8 as a purpose of life. So, light. And what if you have number 9? Number 9 is the liberator, and the key word is accomplishment. You see, number 9 and number 6 graphically are very similar. Number 6 is like that. Number 9 is the same number reversed, upside down, you could say. Why are they similar? Well, we said that number 6 is the caregiver, the angel that is taking care of us, and the key word is love. And it's like graphically, it's like a little seed that starts to come out. Number 9 is like a balloon with a thread, and it has to stay connected to the earth, because it's a number with lots of intuition, lots of ideas, but that it wants to feel unconditional love. He is very sensitive. It feels the love of the world. Anything that happens in the world, the number 9 feels it as it would be going through its body. It would be going through itself. So it might be feeling even too much, but it wants to release the world. It wants to free the world, and that is possible only spreading unconditional love. That's why the key word is accomplishments. The liberator, number 9 is the liberator, and the accomplishment is its mission. It wants to free anyone, and anyone can be freed and made happy only if connected to unconditional love. So number 9 will always want to do something great, something for anybody, accomplish something of public utility, something to help people to go forward into their spiritual evolution. Mother Teresa of Calcutta was a number 9 in her soul. So, of course, there are other numbers, special numbers, but was just a hint to give you an idea of what numerology can tell to any one of us. This is just a little hint, a little starting point to let you know what a complete numerological framework can say of us. Our purpose, where we come from, because if we have that purpose, we haven't integrated that part, that energy that specific number brings to us and carries with it. So, of course, what we have done in our previous life, it also speaks about our soul. By soul here, we mean what are our very inner and deepest wishes and desires. It speaks about our essence. There is a number that tells us specifically what our essence is. What does that mean? It tells us exactly the characteristic of us that they could tear us apart. I know it's a strong phrase, but those characteristics keep being ours, keep being defining us. It also numerology also talks about our dark side. So that part of us, that behavior, that attitude that actually shows up in our critical moments. Some of us play victims, some of us become angry, some of us become obnoxious. There are several attitudes, several behaviors that when we are in a strong, hard situation, we arise. And numerology tells us exactly why we do that, why what that behavior is moved by. What is the threat, the fear, the anger we feel inside so that we arise that behavior, not another? And also what we can do about it. How we can behave to reestablish an equilibrium, a balance within ourselves, to become again rooted on the ground so that we can elevate ourselves towards the sky and be connected with Mother Earth and Father Sky. And numerology also tells us what the influences that we felt in our lives. There are 4 different phases of our life, and we all have been influenced in those phases and will be influenced by one specific number. The years of those phases are different for many of us. I don't say for all of us because they all depend, the phases depend on some other numbers that we have in our numerological framework. And any phase has been influenced by one number. What does that mean? That phase was actually a challenge for us. Other things to learn, the possibility to introduce in our life different manners, different way to approach life, different way of solving things, of seeing things, different point of reference to connect with, to link to. And we have 4 different phases in our life. So numerology really gives us the idea, a full idea of how many things, how many challenges, how many purposes and commitments we projected before getting on the ground in this actual lifetime. How many things we wanted to work on in order to move forward and make some real interesting step in our emotional, physical, spiritual evolution. It really gives you the opportunity to see your past life, actual past life, and understand some things that within yourself have not really found the correct place, the correct definition. And it also gives you the answers. When I keep numerology courses, of course we do some trials, okay, some examples. And one very interesting example, for example, has been made with the numerological framework of Adolf Hitler. We all know about this person, what he did. And for example, this is just a little thing I depict from his framework, very, very small issue. In one of his life phases, I don't remember exactly if it was in his life phases or if it was the number of the soul, he had one of the so-called master numbers. There are only 4 master numbers, 11, 22, 33, and 44. These numbers are very, very peculiar because they are in a very strong connection with the other dimension. They have been designated as numbers that have to be the mean through which a transpersonal and extraterrestrial energy flows to bring here on the earth information from another dimension, so to elevate the whole world towards a higher level. He had the 11 number in one cycle of life, now I remember. But of course, we set the challenges we want to go through. But once we get here, we can decide, we're free to choose. So we can still decide whether to face the challenge or skip it. So such a personality as the one of Adolf Hitler didn't want to pay attention to the call of number 11, because the call of number 11 is a divine call, is a call that asks you to become better than what you are, to really focus on your heart and your internal feeling, to be open-hearted, to help people with the message you receive from the other dimension in order to help them to elevate. So, if you think of this and if you think of how he managed his life, of course there is a big difference between the possibility he had and what he used to do. So he didn't listen to the call. We're always free to choose how to apply to the calls and to the challenges and how to face them in our life. So actually, the numerological frame is a setting, a point, a starting point of our life. And when we go through a numerological framework, we understand what we feel inside, what we haven't heard, why we behave in some ways, and also what we can do to better our life, what we can do to help ourselves being better beings, what we can do to help others to elevate to other frequencies. It really gives you lots of information about this. You see, the first one to define a connection between human beings and number has been Pythagoras. He was the first one that really sorted out a relationship and a connection and an influence between numbers and human beings and the numbers of that human being. So our date of birth and our first and last names are really important resources, important sources to get to know lots of information that can be very useful to us to understand ourselves and to understand how actually to adapt much better to what will happen next and to follow our path, the path we have designed before getting on the ground, the path we have drawn to make a step in our spiritual evolution. When we read a numerological framework, we need at least 90 minutes. Sometimes I had to lecture for 3 hours. So you can understand from this that you really will get lots of information about you and that it can be very, very useful. There is a question from Alessia. I want to know my number. Yeah, I know that is also the purpose, I really tell you, honestly, the purpose is that anyone will get to know his number, but not because they want me to do their numerological framework. Of course, I can do it to you, Alessia. You get in touch with me privately and we can fix an appointment so that I can see your numbers. But because actually we've been given a really important gift. And if we don't know our numbers, that gift is still into its package. And it's a waste, a big waste. And as I told you, numbers are a magical and universal word because they define anything. Not just numbers, actually, also geometrical figures. for the same reason as numbers. Do you remember what I said at the beginning of this live? That numbers are a universal language because no matter how you pronounce them, no matter how you write them, when you think of one number, you think of the same thing. When you think of number 5, your idea of what that is very precise and accurate. So the frequencies that actually you spread around are very precise. They are always the same, no matter whether I think of the number 5, you think, no matter who thinks of the number 5, we always let the same frequencies out. Same things for the geometrical figures, because when you think of a pyramid has that shape. It doesn't matter the color of the pyramid, how big the pyramid is. What matters, and that belongs also to the radionic science, is the shape. The shape is magic. The shape is a symbol. And when you think of the symbol, you emanate the same frequency. Yes, Sabrina, numbers bring awareness. Numbers bring awareness, and the informational quantic basic field, as I said at the beginning of this live, are all defined by numerological sequences. Maybe some are very long, because those sequences define frequencies, and anything that exists has its frequency. I have to say that better, actually. I have to make that clear. Anything that exists should have that frequency. Anything should vibrate at the same frequency the quantum physics basic information field vibrates at. When we do not vibrate at that frequency, we are not in the level of peace and love that the basic quantum informational field carries, and that is what we are supposed to achieve, to accomplish. This is where we are supposed to get to, that sequence for anything, because the matrix of everything is that quantum physics field where there are all the information for us to live in love, in peace, in harmony, in collaboration. And all our life, we're spending trying to realign ourselves to that field, to those precise sequences, to these numerological sequences of love, of unconditional love. When we try it, when we get to do that, we have a moment of very interesting, deep, breathtaking bliss. That is when we heal ourselves. Healing ourselves means to realign with that field. And that field is made by the energy of unconditional love. When we have the opportunity in our life to get in touch with that love, we heal ourselves physically, mentally. We get over a structure, a behavioral structure or scheme that is limiting us, for example. And so, in that moment, a miracle occurs. That is what healing is. That is what quantum physics states that healing is now. A complete different point of view, respect the medicine and the doctrines and the disciplines that we had until a few years ago. Sabrina says, so we can stop believing casuality of the members recurring from life. Of course, of course. We, of course, call towards us people that are in the same vibration. We work as diapason. I don't know if you know how those work. If you get into a room and there are a lot of diapasons and you do a sound, you make a sound, only the diapason vibrating at the same frequency of the sound will start moving and responding to us. Only that one. Barbara, what is the sequence of unconditional love? There is a sequence for unconditional love. I have to find it out. Now I don't have it with me, but I'll write it soon after my live here on Bridges of Light. And I'll leave you with this sequence. I'll leave you with this sequence, and I will tell you, when you use it, you have to repeat the numbers of the sequence one by one. It doesn't matter, then you cannot, if you wish, you can memorize the sequences, but it doesn't matter. It's important to focus on any single number, get in touch with any single number of the sequence, and let it go through yourself. You can imagine to write it, you can imagine it to vibrate, to appear in front of you. Do as you feel, trust yourself, and repeat as many times as you want that sequence of unconditional love. Thanks, Barbara. I didn't know how I always go by heart when I speak, so I didn't know I was going to speak about this, but thank you, Barbara, for your question, because now I will post the answer and anyone is invited to use the sequence of unconditional love. So my time now is over. I hope I gave you a hint of what numbers can do for us and can give us, because they really can give answers to us. I'll be here again next Tuesday at 6 p.m. And thanks for being here. Thanks for your answers. And it's always a pleasure to deal with Bridges of Light people. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.